All right, so let's start in seated today. And props that you'll want for this class are a block and a blanket, most likely. And I'd like to start just with a simple centering. So one hand over the chest, one hand over the belly, the back of the neck, get long, chin drops down. Allow the muscles of your face to be relaxed between the eyes, across the forehead, corners of the lips turn up. Invite your breath to slow down just a little bit. Let's take a full breath in. As you exhale, let go of anything before this moment or after this moment. Big sigh out. On your next inhale, crack open your eyes. And we're going to start to lean a little bit right and left. Adjust your legs as needed. As you lean to your left, you might notice a bit of less pressure in your right sitting bone. As you lean to your right, you might notice a little bit less pressure in your left sitting bone, which is what we want. We want this shift to go a little side to side. If you're sitting on the block and the block is shifting out from underneath of you, which is the case for me, you can move it out of the way. Just keep it within arm's reach. And then again, keep shifting a little bit side to side without the block. Notice if you're sitting cross-legged, and you could be sitting in a different style. There's no right or wrong here. But if you're sitting cross-legged, notice as you go to one side, if the opposite knee tries to lift up, and try not to let it. And then I want you to put your hands on your side waist. So essentially the space between your ribs and your pelvis should shorten. And you're trying to shorten that space without the knee lifting up very much. It's actually kind of tricky. So try that on one side and then try that on the other side. And then maybe switch which leg is in front. If the block felt too kind of bulky and it was slipping around a bunch, trying this on the blanket or a throw pillow might be better. Shortening the distance between the rib cage and the pelvis, keeping the knees as heavy as possible. Let's go ahead and put the hands on our knees. Exhale and round your spine back. Come into the cat shape of the spine. Inhale, send the belly forward, reach the heart up, squeeze the shoulder blades back, and then just work a little back and forth at your own pace. Earlier years, my yoga practice might have looked to sort of push myself to the edge, even in this cat and cow. And what I recommend instead is just sort of finding out where your body wants to go. So no edges necessarily. You don't really want to go to the edge of a cliff. Just find out how far you can go where you still get a stellar view, beyond which the risks outweigh the benefits. Hopefully that analogy made sense. And then we're going to find a more neutral spine. You're going to set your feet out in front of you. I call this position picnic sit because you might sit like this at a picnic with your friends. And you're going to have your hands behind you. So I just slid my blanket back there so I could have a little support under my hands. Knees are wide. Drop your knees all the way to one side and notice that there's a bit of a side bend that happens in your spine. And then drop your knees all the way to the other side. So really, you don't even have to drop your knees down the way I have. Just go as far as feels good to you. We're getting to Quadratus Lumborum even here. Quadratus Lumborum is also sometimes referred to as your QL. And as always with movement, it is almost impossible to isolate a single muscle. So this practice is for sure not about isolating a muscle. Stretch your legs out just however far feels good. And again, boost yourself up on a blanket if you start to feel a lot of rounding back. Hands can be supporting you on either side. And again, see if you can lift one sitting bone off the floor and then the other. One sitting bone off the floor and then the other. So you're engaging, as I said, not just one muscle. Quadratus lumborum, your lats, your obliques, all of the things. Lots of leg stuff going on as well. And then draw your legs in, cross over onto hands and knees, please. Your blanket is your friend if you'd like to use it to cushion your knees. And just start to wag your tail a little bit right and left. You can turn your fingers out, allow your wrists a little bit more time to warm up. And try to stretch one side of your body long. So the side that's closest to the camera right now, that's the side I'm stretching long. And then the other, feel free to go more slowly than me. And take a deep breath as you lengthen from armpit to pelvis. And then please lower your forearms down to the floor so you're still in a table position. But now you're going to keep one leg down, stretch one leg back. And as you lift this leg, I want you to really lengthen it out. So try to get like longer on that side. And then swish the foot a little bit across your body and a little bit out to the side. A little bit across and a little out to the side. So my left foot is in the air right now. I'm trying to keep that entire leg in line with my trunk. It loves to dip down, but I'm trying to keep it up. And then I'm sweeping it about maybe 12 inches in and 12 inches out. It's not like a huge, huge movement. Last one. And then lower down and cross your right knee behind your left. Actually, you don't really even have to totally do that. You can kind of just slide your right leg back and rock back and forth a little bit. If it makes sense to cross your right leg behind your left, you can rock back and forth a few times here. Gomukhasana leg variation. Unravel and then switch sides. Still in your forearms for table. Other leg lifts. Number one task, reach long. Connect to breath. Standing leg is working hard, ribs drawing in towards the ceiling. Lifted leg stays lifted, in line with the trunk, and then it sweeps. Your body has to accommodate for the leg a little bit, right? So you lean more into the right arm as your leg goes out to the left, and you lean more into the left arm as your leg goes out to the right. And the last couple of sweeps, little side bending happening. Actually, I'm going to restabilize, lift my ribs towards the sky. And then drop this knee behind the other leg. If Gomukhasana doesn't work for you, don't worry about it. You can just shift in another means. I think I switched up the legs. I'm tucking my left leg back for Gomukhasana. Typically, this particular position, you actually sit all the way down, you stack your knees. Like I mentioned earlier, this is a very edgy position, like being at the edge of a cliff. We don't need to do this to get benefit from a well-rounded yoga asana practice. We don't need to do this to be more mindful and kind people. So just go into whatever feels good for you. We're coming back to table pose, and we'll do a little bit of warm-up for our shoulders before downward facing dog. Take a seat on the block, And reach one arm up and then the other. And as you reach this first arm up, other arm is going to reach down towards the ground. Try to go back and forth. And there's a little bit of a quality as we do this to, I think of like Jane Fonda movements. But instead of just sort of this happening, we're moving in opposite directions with the arms. So as my right arm really reaches upward, my left arm really reaches down. Lengthening lats on one side, lengthening QL on one side, and then activating those same two muscles on the opposite side. So many yoga classes, we jump, my classes too on occasion, we jump into down dog without doing a lot of shoulder activation. And this is a really simple way to prepare your shoulders to take on a little bit of overhead weight in the, with the shoulders in a really good position. So one last thing before we get into that, cross your arms over your chest. And as you lift your elbows, I want you to really feel your shoulder blades move. Shoulder blades are going to lift up towards your ears, and then the arms are going to come up and reach. So both arms are up overhead now. Please notice that your neck is free, even though your arms are really reaching, even though your shoulder blades are really lifted. Back of the neck is long. If, like me, you feel your low ribs pop out, snuggle them back in to turn your palms to face one another. And focus on core stability here. Slow motion, lower down. Root your hands to the ground in front of you. Curl your toes under and rise up to your downward facing dog. I almost smacked myself in the eyes with my braids. Set your feet wide for the first part of down dog, and don't worry if your down dog is a little bit short today. Bend one knee and then the other, or come on to one set of tiptoes and then the other. And then we're going to hop our feet a little bit closer together and just actually kind of pivot the knees like you're skiing a little bit. Not that I really know what skiing is like. But just let your whole pelvis shift to one side and then to the next. Nice. Come down onto your knees. And if you have your cushion, this is a great time to put it under your knees. And we're going to keep the legs together here. Imagine you're a mermaid, merman, merperson, and you're going to squeeze your ankles or your inner shins towards one another and sort of pivot here. So we're actually activating Quadratus Lumborum on the right and then Quadratus Lumborum on the left. Couple more. And then take it right back out. Downward facing dog. Slightly fuller length down dog this time. Strong arms push into the ground. Lean all your weight to the right. Come onto your left fingertips. Lean all your weight to the left. Come onto your right fingertips. And then shift forward to plank. So push the ground away, round your upper back, and squeeze your bum here. It's very easy to lift your hips higher than your shoulders. You want the hips lower than the shoulders, but not sagging. So round your upper back, hips lower than the shoulders, no sagging. 5, 4, 3, 2, connect to breath, and then lower down to your knees. Take a seat. We'll get back to standing in a moment. But from seated, walk your right hand out, reach that left arm to the sky, and just give it a nice side bend. You can go, perhaps, I'm going to use my block here, even down to your forearm, rooting through the opposite sitting bone, chin down, back of the neck long. Inhale up, we'll take it to the other side. Shake out your head and neck. Sweep the arms in a big circle if that would feel good. And then wiggle your other fingers out. Stay here. lots of reaching. Or, if it makes sense, forearm down to the floor. I'm rooting opposite sitting bone, reaching through the fingertips. Big breath. Come on up, interlace your fingers behind you, lift your chest just a little bit, and drop your chin. Start to make some half moons on your chest, across your chest, with your chin. And then come back to center. Roll your shoulders a little bit. Interlace your fingers, press and reach. And then lower your arms down. So set your block off to the side. And before we get back up to standing again, you're going to have your feet in front of you. Start off in picnic sit. But instead of having your feet super duper wide, have them just shoulder distance apart. Fingers can point in any direction that feels good. So you're going to lean over to your right arm, lift your pelvis, reach, and get this nice long stretch here. So it's a little bit of a reverse table shape, but lots of reaching happening. You're going to switch sides. Press the pelvis, reach the arm, hold it for breath, and lower. Press the pelvis, reach the arm, hold it for breath, and lower. Press, reach, hold, and lower. Back to center, cross shins, roll, reach, down dog. Shift your hips right and left. Feel that little stretch across the calf. And then as you walk your hands back, really push one hand down to the ground and then the other till you get to the back of your yoga mat. Hang out, strong, bend in the knee, shake it out left and right. Shake your head out, nod it up and down. And then let's begin to roll up vertebra by vertebra. Coming back to our Tadasana, our neutral position. Lean your weight onto your right leg. Toes are going to turn up on the left. Left leg is kind of straight out in front of you. And we're going to do a little bit of like interpretive dance here, okay? So right leg is going into a chair position, hips back. Arms are sliding down that left leg and rise up. You're going to shift your weight onto the left leg. Chair position on the left with a bit of sass. Hip out to the side. Slide and rise up. Bend, slide down the straight leg and rise up. Bend and slide and rise up. Now I want you to notice that at a certain point here, your spine is going to round. Nothing wrong with rounding your spine, but feel free to also stay a little higher than that if you're working more on the lower body stuff today. Either way, especially if the leg that is bending, taking the weight, is knee staying over middle toe more or less. If that is happening, then what's going to be going on your back is a little bit of side bending. Here we go. Arm down the straight leg. One more time each side. And then right back to center. Legs stay shoulder distance. Arms reach, catch opposite wrist. Lean over. Let your pelvis glide a little bit to accommodate. And take a breath here. Strong legs. Inhale up, switch the hold, opposite wrist. Hips press and lean. Breath into the side body. Rise right back to center. Lower your arms down. Heel toe your feet together. And then please shift your weight into your right leg. Left foot is going to step back. Right knee, your front leg, bends. And then the pelvis kind of shifts also to the left. Okay? So you can already see this big kind of side bend that's happening, or shearing action that's happening here. You might feel a little stretch on the outside of this hip. And you're going to sweep the arms and lean, catching left wrist and leaning over for Krishna's crescent. Feel free to bring your thumb and your first finger together in that top hand. Look down to the floor, look up to the sky. Chin stays relatively close to chest. Inhale, come on out of it. Exhale, feet wide. Drop down into a goddess squat for a moment. Hands to your thighs. Dip one shoulder down, then the other. Straight elbows here. Rise through the legs. Heel toe your feet together. Try not to fall over. And then bend through your left leg. For those who don't know, I have a kind of elaborate cork, multi-layer cork setup to try to decrease the squeakiness of my floor, but it's still there. So it actually makes me a little less stable. So your front knee is deeply bent. Pelvis is now shifting towards the right. You're going to reach up and you're going to catch that right wrist, lean into it, maybe bring your thumb and your first finger together here. Gaze can be down, up, wherever you'd like. Krishna's crescent. Inhale, rise it up. Exhale, take it right back out to goddess. And this time just shift side to side. I don't care if your knees stay bent or not. But yeah, go ahead and really, really enjoy this movement. Drop down, belly in, shoulders over pelvis. And now we're going to add the arms and we're going to sweep and reach. Inhale, open, sweep and reach. So arms move in the opposite direction. As I lean to the left, my right arm goes by the ear. As I lean to the right, my left arm goes by the ear. Right arm across the belly. Open and lean. And open and lean. We'll come back to this later. Find yourself in neutral. And then go ahead and heel toe your feet back to Tadasana. Grab your block. And the block is going to be for this purpose in a low position. Top foot, one foot on the block. One foot's going to hang off the block. And you'll probably want a wall, back of a chair, back of a couch, something to hold on to, table to hold on to, okay? So the foot that's on the block is completely solidly on the block. My other leg is going to start off just swinging. And it's swinging slightly below the standing leg, right? As if gravity could drag it out and make it longer and sort of elongate that side of my body. Now put your hand to your waist or to your pelvis on the hanging side. And you're going to cinch that side up. Try to bring your inner ankle bone higher than the standing leg ankle bone and lower. Try not to go into a back bend here. You're just literally just lifting and lowering. Lifting and lowering. As if this whole leg were on a elevator. Just do the best you can. If you need to put your foot down in between, that's okay. Last one or two. This is QL activation. Lower down and shake out both of your legs. We've got another side. So start off standing on the block. Spare leg, shall we call it, is swinging it back and forth. One of the things I do here as a physical therapist is this could be a component of an assessment where I'm looking to see if one leg swings more than the other, if the lumbopelvic kind of dynamic is better on one side versus the other. And you can sort of self-assess in a way, not quite the same thing, but you can pay attention to those qualities on your own. And then let that leg hang heavy, parallel to your standing leg, and go ahead and cinch it up and down. Lift, try to get the inner ankle bone as high as and then below. So it's as if this leg were on an elevator and you're just lifting and lowering. And last two. Go ahead and lower it down. Take it down. So that works your Quadratus Lumborum, but it also works the sides of your hips a ton. So we'll work those out a little bit right now. Cross your right thigh over the left. You might want to have your block within arm's reach. So right thigh over the left. Inhale tall. Exhale. Fold forward. Feel free to keep your hands on your thighs like this. Or if it makes sense for you to lower down, you can bring your hands to the block or possibly even to the floor. And then go ahead and shimmy side to side. For me, there's almost like I'm sort of at close to that edge that I was talking about before. So I'm not going to go any further than this, or else I feel like I might be yanking on my tissues. So hang out here, full breath. Spread your toes, lengthen through the spine. And then rise up. We'll take it to the other side. Cross the other leg over. And exhale. No matter where you go today, it doesn't make you a better yogi. It doesn't make you a better person to be more stretchy or more flexible. In fact, I think the best thing that we can do with this yoga practice is really, truly to take it as an opportunity, bring your hands to your hips, rise up, to get to know ourselves. And in that process of getting to know ourselves, to be easy on ourselves, to be kind to ourselves. If we can't be kind to ourselves, it becomes truly impossible to be kind to others. So we're going to take this into a lunge, a squat pattern, and then back into more typical yoga asana shape. So back foot steps back a little bit more. Front knee bends deeply. You lower yourself down to the ground with control. Go ahead and lift your front leg. Hold it there. See if you can balance for a moment. And draw your knees together. Reach down one leg, opposite arm by the ear. Notice if this gets to more psoas or outer hips than the actions that we did before. Other side. Switch. And switch. Whichever leg was in front when you lowered down, that's one that's going to stay on the floor now. And you're going to step your other leg forward. Feel free to have a little bit of a diagonal with that back shin. Curl those back toes under. And if reasonable, come up from here. Step to the front of your yoga mat. And of course, you could use your hands for that. I was just showing you a kind of an ideal movement without the hands. Strong legs. Sweep the arms. Exhale, fold from the hips. Inhale, rise halfway up. Exhale, bend it down, step it back to plank. Bend one knee, then the other down to the ground. And then lower, and lower all the way down. Squeeze the muscles of your upper back. Lengthen the back of your neck. Float the arms. Couple of full breaths here. Try to point your toes and make them further back behind you. This is just about strengthening muscles in the upper back, not about going into a deep back bend. Lower your hands by the sides of your ribs. Come up through our neutral table again and wag your tail. Get your knees right under your hips, shoulders, right over your wrists, right over your hands. And your toes can be touching one another. And you're going to sit kind of to the outside of your left foot and then to the outside of your right foot. It's not a huge movement, but it's a little movement. Adding more diversity of movement to our hips, to our spines. And obviously not sitting back all the way. Find neutral, curl your toes under. So all 10 toes, try to get your pinky toes under, try to spread your toes out. Lean back a little and then open one knee to the side and back. Lean back, open the other knee to the side and back. And last couple of movements. Cross at your shins. Take a seat on the ground and just again experiment with one hip lifting, then the other. Notice if you have more fluidity with this movement than you did in the beginning of practice. You may not. I'm just doing a little test and retest. I feel like I can activate that and lift it up with less leg movement. I'm still getting a little leg movement, which is normal, especially for the leg that is in front, but it feels really good. We're going to cross at the shins, roll into hands and knees, and then again, find our way to downward facing dog, but this time have the toes touching. So fingers can turn out a little bit. I hear a lot of teachers saying that your first finger, your middle finger has to be straightforward. That is absolute nonsense because everybody's wrists and hands and forearms are a little bit different, and actually turning them out typically feels a little bit better for most of us. So walk your feet back up a tiny bit. Full length down dog. Rise onto your tiptoes and then turn and stack your legs. So I've turned my toes to my left, stacked my legs. It's kind of like I'm in a side plank from the lower body to my belly button, and then I'm in down dog from the belly button up. Rise to center, take it to the other side. Stack the feet, neutral, stack, neutral, stack, neutral, stack, neutral, and stack, landing on the opposite side from where you started from. Shift, lower to your knees. Cushion your knees as you wish, because we're going to be on just one leg in just a moment. And pivot on your outside knee or your right knee. Straighten out through the top leg. Root down through your bottom arm and then top hand to your hip here. I want you to push the ground away with your bottom arm. And if you feel any need to do this, you can have your hand on the block here. So you're going to push the ground away and lift your ribs towards the sky a little bit, top arm by the ear. Make a bit of a rainbow shape with your body. Good. If you feel comfortable here, you can practice bending your top knee, kind of rocking a little bit forward and back. And you may even bend that knee fully till the foot gets flat, shin vertical. And you may even feel comfortable pushing into the hand that's on the ground, lifting your bottom leg. You can keep the knee bent like I'm showing, or you can straighten your leg out in front of you. Bend it right back in, lower, reach, and then rise up to a neutral shape. Straighten the leg that is out. And go ahead and slide your hand down that leg. Ribs in, top arm reaches to the sky, by the ear, stays on the hip, whatever feels good. And just sort of rock around here. None of this practice should feel forced. None of this practice should feel like you're overriding any of your body's greater needs, although sometimes we might not feel like moving and then we override that. Other than that, you don't really want to override your body's messages to you. From here, from this gate pose, rise back up, and we'll take it to the other side. Leg that is out, bend that knee. Use the strength of the standing leg, come into the tiptoes of the lifted out extended leg, and draw it back in. And then we'll shift to the other side. So nice and slow. Take this other leg out, and we're going to pivot, straighten the leg out. You have your block now on this side. Lower the hand, top arm by ear to ear. If you're mirroring me, you and I are looking at each other like mirrors, then you're on your right leg, and your right hand is on the ground, left arm is by the ear, left leg long. Stay here, or you can kind of pivot a little front to back. Maybe even bend that back knee so that your shin goes vertical. Adjust the foot wherever it needs to be. Bottom hand can be on your block here. And then option to push down, stabilize through the trunk, lift your bottom knee, maybe reach it out in front of you. And then quickly put it back down if you feel like it. And then straighten out your top leg again, rise up. We've got our orientation for gate pose, and go ahead and glide your top hand down the leg and gate. Lengthening Quadratus Lumborum on the top side, activating all the muscles that flex, side bend the spine on the bottom. Top arm by the ear if you'd like. By the way, this lengthened out leg, the toes and the sole of the foot can be on the floor or toes pointing up, whatever feels good. And then we'll rise to neutral. And go ahead and bend this leg in. Try to find that balance on the standing leg. Take your time. We're going to lower down onto let's lower down onto the left arm since we're just on the right. So lower down onto the left arm, option to have your block here under that hand. Straighten out through the top leg. Okay? Now, this top leg is going to be asked to do a lot of work. So you can adjust it back, you can adjust it front, wherever it feels like it's going to be able to really push down into the floor. You're going to push down into that top leg, down into the arm. Lift this bottom leg and either straighten it out so that it starts to support the lifted leg, or reach it out in front of you. So I'm chosen this supportive position. Top arm reaches up and over the ear, hips lift higher than before into the side bend. Full breath. And slow motion, release. Take a moment in neutral, kneeling, which is one of the most nourishing positions for many of us because we spend so much time in chairs. The front of our hips get really tight, and when we stand, it's easy to kind of tilt the pelvis forward to go around that tightness, but here in kneeling, you'll fall over if you do too much of that. So you have to use your glutes here. You have to use your hamstrings, which is the back of the thighs. Let's just inhale, arms up, and lean, and lean. In fact, I like this one, this opposite arm reach. Keep the pelvis pressing forward and even. And then we're moving to the other side. Grab the block if you'd like a little less drama in your arms. Top leg reaches out, push down, pelvis lifts up, and you can either adjust this foot front back however you want it. Take this bottom leg, reach it forward for that very strong variation of side plank, or you can fortify your lifted leg, your straight leg, by stacking the two together. Try to get this rainbow shape in your body. Lots of QL happening, contracting on the bottom side, lengthening on the top. Beautiful, you guys. And then lower, root both hands to the floor. Block out of the way, shift down to your belly. Float your chest. No need to do anything more than this. And then relax down. Rest your forehead on the ground and shake your pelvis out. Bend your right knee. And if you feel like a sudden tightness along the front of your thigh as you bend your knee in, then you can just stay here, kind of kicking your butt. That should help to relieve some of that tightness. If you would like to go a little bit further, you can press into your elbows a touch, lift your right leg off the floor, and either hit a wall like I just did, or really just stretch that leg out on a diagonal, right? I'm limited by how much space I have, but hopefully you've got a little bit more and you can just really, really reach there, get that nice release to your QL, to your lats, go right back down, and we'll take it to the other side. You'll see what I mean. Left heel comes in, taps your hip. And then lift and reach. And really, really reach. Let it go super long. Connected breath. And then right back to center. Prop yourself up on your elbows, just briefly looking over one shoulder and then the other. And then we're going to make our way back to our table on our forearms. Straighten one leg behind you. Lift it up. And this time, let the motion get even bigger. So out to the side, across your body. Earlier, we were just doing maybe 24 inches at the most. Now I want you to really make as big of a sweep as you can, keeping your trunk stable, lowest ribs magnetized towards the sky. As your leg goes across next time, really, really extend it out, and then lower the foot down. Rise up onto your fingertips, arms stretched out in front of you. Try to just lean back a little bit. Elbows down, knee back down. Shimmy, shift. Other leg reaches. Ribs up and sweep. And so you're trying to keep the leg in line with your trunk. Like you're just tracing the horizon. Let this action get a little bigger and a little bigger and a little bigger. And then take this leg all the way across, park the foot on the floor, and just tack it into place. Lean back, come onto your fingertips if that works for you, so you get this nice side stretch in your body. I hope you guys can tell what's going on here. It's this, I'm getting a side stretch on my left side. It's my right side that's towards you. And then back to center. Knees down. Curl your toes under. And we're going to move in the direction of child's pose. And I'm going to recommend having our block for resting our forehead on. So it could look something like this. So actually, it's more comfortable for me to not have my toes curled under. So I'm going to do this. You can stay here, or you can, block's going to get into our way. I apologize about that. Walk your hands as far as you want over to your right. From the right, you're going to lift your hips a little bit. Interlace your top fingers, your left hand, over the right, so it looks like that. And you're going to tap your hand down to the floor. So as you sort of lift up and drop back, you're going to start to feel a lot of lengthening happening on the left side of your body. Forehead can rest between the arms. Inhale right back to center. And let's take it to the other side. So you're going to lift up a little bit, walk your hands as far as you can to the left. Take your right fingertips, interlace them over top of the left, and drop down. Take 3 to 5 breaths here. Inhale, right back to center. And then shift to the table, cross at your shins, sweep your legs out in front of you. And you're gonna fold up your blanket, slide your legs out into long sit, also known as Dandasana. And you can literally just rest here and root your hands down, kind of lengthen and traction your spine if that would feel good to you. With or without your hands to the floor. I'll turn so you guys can see. You're going to lift one cheek and then the other. This is a really important movement to have good control of your lumbopelvic region. And what I see a lot of the time happening in my patients and my yoga students, I see this tree trunk effect where we can move our spine as a unit, but we can't access these muscles of our side waist. So in this one, with your heels rooted to the ground and that sort of rooting of one sitting bone, lifting of the other, you can kind of get that action, right? A little bit more. One more time each side. Go ahead and grab your blanket, roll it up into a nice tight Tootsie Roll, and you're gonna place it on your mat where your thighs are gonna go or behind your knees. And we've got another little twist once we're on the ground, but we're working our way towards Shavasana. So heels out in front of you, lower yourself down, lengthen the back body, draw your knees to your chest, rock a little side to side, and then 3 breaths with your knees just flopped over to the right. Don't worry about stacking. Don't worry about whether your back shoulder lifts up off the floor or not. Don't worry if your thighs are touching or not. Just scan your breath and be aware. Chin turns opposite the knees. Inhale, chin center, knees center. Take your twist in the other direction. One more breath here with your eyelids heavy. Draw your knees back to center. Readjust, lengthen your spine. And then straighten out your legs, bringing the yoga mat or the rolled up blanket under your thighs, whatever feels good. Arms are heavy, palms face up. Chin resting slightly towards the chest. Let everything go. Imagine every muscle in your face relaxing. Ears relaxed. Scalp relaxed. Jaw and tongue relaxed. welcome to stay in Shavasana for longer, or you're welcome to slowly deepen your breath. Wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. Reach long through your limbs. And then drawing your knees slowly to your chest to take your time. With your eyelids still heavy, to roll to one side and make your way back to seated. So I no longer say namaste at the close of class for a couple different reasons. But the spirit and original intent of when I did use that was to really honor you and the unique light that you bring to this moment that no one else can replace. And to let that almost infinite part of ourselves see each other, so that it is not about Ariele with the braids or the leggings or you and whatever it is that you appear to be outwardly to the world, but our deeper connectivity. And it is that with which I honor you, and I appreciate you for being here and practicing with me. Thank you so very much.